rather than having a vested interest in making that marriage work. Having people work through the issue, not destructing the bonds. The bottom line is when we look at things, and I'm sorry to cut it short, is we need to actually look at a number of issues. We need to understand the age in which we live in, the cultural, political, social, economic situations. We need to actually protect ourselves in a number of ways, and that is going by looking at relationship management, relationship maintenance. All right, and I know I skipped maintenance. We'll talk about it later. And we need to actually take solid, concrete steps in actually protecting ourselves in the relationships we want. Ultimately, we need to put the incentives back in, and the best way to put the incentives back in is only to commit to women who are prepared, willing, able, and are able to actually foster the relationships we want. And that is by being very, very, very selective, by being discriminating, by taking it seriously, and making sure she does as well. As men, we're gatekeepers to that commitment. I really want you to be a guardian at that gate and recognize that not only the choices that we make for ourselves, but the quality of the relationships determines our lives. So with that in mind, over the next 3 days, I want you to listen to the speakers that are going to come and speak. I'm going to want you to take notes, talk with each other, engage in the speakers. You know, and ask yourself the question, who do I want to be? What do I want to become? What is the quality and nature and make up the life that I want to live? And no matter where that takes you, contemplate that and choose and apply yourself. All right? Thank you. Two questions. And by the way, I cut the speech short, and so if any of you guys want to take notes, we'll talk. I can talk about maintenance and management and some of the other things. I know I ran long. There's a lot more to talk about, and this is going to be one of the things. I'm going to be around for the next 3 days. Please come see me. I'd love to talk to you. That's why I'm here. Questions?
First off, thank you. Thank you for having the balls to say something that no one else is able to say, especially on the web. But my question is, you stated how dependency is bad. Mm-hmm. And I think there is a level of dependency that's needed in a relationship.
Pause. Hang on a second. Unmute the mic. Is it on? Yeah. It's not muted. Tell you what, ask the question. Sock, can you just repeat it? Best
Okay.
you can,
Yeah,
so
sure.
people will understand.
Okay. Oh, you're good.
Can you just go deeper into really what level of dependency is bad? Because I feel like you need a level of dependency, but you stated, that it's completely bad.
Well, I'll differentiate. Probably what you're not saying is that with dependency and desire, there's a difference between desire and dependency. Dependency is when you actually need somebody, you're not functioning as a human being, that you're not able to make good choices for yourself or that are unhealthy in nature. All right, that's a dependency. When you have that sort of driven need, I don't think it's healthy, because it ends up, it plays out in a number of ways. If you have a desire for somebody that you want, okay, is completely different. And if we look at it, there's a difference between, for example, joy and pleasure. Joy comes from within, that's self-generated, and if you're autonomous and you're self-actuated, you can go through life alone and still be lonely, but you realize you can develop joy, and have a want to be with somebody, okay? Somebody that's not autonomous, that's pleasure-seeking, okay, that's an external influence, because dependency needs are external-driven rather than internal-driven, is that they have a need for it, okay? That they'll be alone and they'll be needing, okay? And they have not learned to differentiate the difference between an internalized sensation and state of being and something that's driving external. Anything that's external is not associated with you. And pleasure is very much an external thing. I love pleasure, but it's external, all right? I find joy within, okay? And when I'm whole and I'm self and I'm secure, I'm not dependent because I'm self-sustaining. My joy and sense of being is all internalized. And I'm able to go through life. I can want and desire things, okay, but that's completely different than not being adequate, and actually when you're not adequate, you will reach out, and we'll actually, interestingly enough, we'll develop relationships based on our own sense of development. We'll actually seek out people that you can help us along, or people that will replicate that experience. And if it's a negative experience, and it's a dependency experience, there'll be negative and unhealthy relationships. Last question.
You talked about women marrying up.
Yeah.
I was wondering, do you think that in the cases that women make more money than the man in a marriage, do you think that gives them the right to, be more dominant and have that more masculine role? Whereas, perfect example, like my neighbors, I know the wife is always yelling at her husband. She's like, Nick, like blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of sad to see that. Do you think that maybe just because women make more money, they have the right to control the man in a relationship?
That was a point that I actually cut out of the speech. Interesting enough, making more doesn't give anybody the right. Okay? What you're hearing in that example is somebody that's lacking social skills. Okay? And in this particular case, it's coming from a woman. She's lacking social skills to appropriately do it. I will actually entertain this notion. I hope you guys do it. If it's not in your reality, it should be. And keep in mind, if it's not in your reality, don't expect it to happen. We live in an age in which, for the first time in our lives, we actually have a choice of marrying up. Okay, and it doesn't mean you just become a stay-at-home dad and you're a slag or anything else, but we can actually meet women's needs who are able to actually out-earn us or are capable of ours and provide us a measure of wealth, life, and enjoyment that we couldn't necessarily earn on our own. Okay, and we can exchange that for a number of ways. Flip it on its head. When you're with a woman, what is she providing you as a man outside of sex? And by the way, sex is a major driver, okay? Well-off, healthy women love sex. Are you able to meet those needs? Okay, it doesn't just mean to be the boy toy, okay? Ultimately, a woman is going to be a little more judgmental, and she's going to look for other base biological needs that need to be met. Sense of security, providing. And when we look at relationships in which men are utterly failing at any measure, what we would measure as masculinity, women in those relationships still define the man when they're outperforming, out-providing, doing all the roles as the man, as the head of household. Why? Ultimately, it goes back to your biological prerogative, is to actually protect the woman, to protect the family. They're relying on that. Base biological need. If you can address more than that, find out what her specific psychological needs are. Okay, what's her life stories? What are those untold expectations and family histories? Answer those questions, and you will have something that nobody else will provide her. And that has a tremendous value. It's no longer about just one provider. It's about the nature of two people going through their lives together and what's the makeup of that life. But for the first time in history, men on a whole are able to look at that and evaluate it and say, I have an opportunity to marry up as well as marry down. Or for that matter, grab a partner that's equal to. Put that concept, because it's very much going to be our reality. Very much so. Okay. We got to end it. Thanks, guys.